Hi, this is Mercy. Welcome back to the channel. I was not feeling very well the last few days, but I remembered that I told myself I'm going to be doing consistent recording. And so I already had this topic that I needed to do. And so I said, you know what, Mercy, the little bit of energy you have, use it. So I am using the little bit of energy that I have. Welcome to the channel, and this is a place where I like to reflect on the things that are going on in the world, the things that I like, the things that I don't like, the things that are making me question my entire livelihood. But I feel like this is something that a lot of millennials are dealing with. We were raised in our society, especially the millennials who are raised by. Actually, I think that's all of us. I was about to say who are raised by parents who were born just around when most African countries were getting independence. And that's actually most of our parents. Most of our parents were born in the 50s and the 60s. So that would be around the time that most African countries were getting independence. So most of our parents were actually learning how to live in a world that their parents had never taught them about, because their parents never envisioned that there would be a day that they would be independent and self-governing. And so there was quite a lot of opportunities and everything for them. I don't know how I got to that, but anyway, here we are. This video is really not about independence and colonialism and any of that. Maybe one day I'll do one about that, but I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough about it at this moment to be able to do it. This is about freedoms and consequences. What I worry the most about is the fact that we have quite a lot of opportunities that are coming to us, and many of them we might not be able to know how to handle them. Why did this come about in my mind? In my mind, I was watching a video about a celebrity they were having a conversation, and one of them asked the other one, what is the most painful cosmetic procedure you've ever had? And the other one said that it was putting a wire under bra. So basically, for her to be able to look like she has a bra on all the time, she put a metal thing under her boobs so that she's able to hold them up. Now, why she didn't just do a breast implant or something like that, I don't know, but that was what she chose to do, which is according to her, painful procedure. And I could not stop thinking that I am so glad that when I was impulsive, I did not have money. When I had all these ideas, I did not have money. Now, when I was younger, I really did not have a chest. No, I really didn't. I really wanted very, very big boobs. Totally wanted huge breasts. I wanted them since I was a child. And I started my periods. I think I said this in one of my other videos. I started my periods when I was about 9-10 years old. And so my breasts started coming out when I was quite young. But then they stopped. So I had these itsy bitsy little things poking out. And that is how it stayed until I was in my mid-20s. And I think I started actually so I used to wear cup A, but even that cup A needed padding for it to fit. And I used to really, really admire women who were having a problem finding a bra because they had very, very big ones. And you have to understand, this was around the time in the 90s when boob jobs was such a big thing. You know the way BBL is right now. For those who are young who cannot understand this, the way BBL is all the craze right now, every celebrity is doing it. that is nothing compared to what was happening when the boob jobs were happening. You know why? I know right now probably more people have done it than that time, but this is the thing. What I have noticed about BBL, it is, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just what the algorithm is showing me on the internet, but BBL is mostly women of color, Latinos, Africans, we people, non-Caucasians who are having it. And most of them, and even when you have the Caucasians who are doing the BBLs, it's mostly Caucasians who are dating African men. So it's mostly trying to attract men. I know many people will say that, no, someone doesn't do BBL for the sake of a man, but okay, fine. If that's what you think, if that's what you believe, if you're doing it for you, fine. But most of them, it's for the black male gaze, right? But the boob job, that was a different ballgame. I think because of people like Pamela Anderson, who were Baywatch, and back then that was the standard of beauty, there was all this. And in the 90s, all models were anorexic. They were all itty bitty skinny people. And then now, either you're that itty bitty skinny person who is flat, front, back, round, everywhere you're flat, or you are skinny, but you have these things just poking out of you. And it was what I wanted. I just wanted to look like one of those women. Yeah, that never happened because, well, I never had the money. And I think for a very long time, I still held on to that fantasy that one day when I have money, I'm going to do this. And probably one day I'll do it. I don't know. My life is still young. I don't know how I'll feel about this. But at the moment, I'm okay with what I have. And I feel like not having money in my youth saved me from a lot of stupid mistakes. One of the things is, what was being done back then compared to what is surgically possible right now is so different. What was being done back then was actually quite, you needed it to be repaired all the time. I think it was every 5 years. There were quite a lot. It wasn't as advanced as it is right now. And many of them looked really fake. Now there are people who have told me, and they needed to tell me that they had a boob job done. Before that, I wouldn't have been able to tell. And I feel like it's the same thing with the BBL. So the BBL, right now, it has become accessible to almost anybody who is able to squeeze a little bit of money from somewhere. And so it's become accessible to people. When it started, well, is it really when it started? I think when people like Kim Kardashian were having, do you people remember there was an episode of the Kardashians? And actually, I don't even think I watched the whole episode. I think I just watched clips of it online. Because I don't think I've ever watched a full Kardashian episode. But anyway, there was a time Kim was being accused of having implants, because that's what people used to do before BBLs. They actually used to get butt implants. And so Kim was accused of this, and then she went to a doctor and had an x-ray to show that she had nothing, that it was all her. Yeah, that was before we knew that they just take fat from one place and transfer it there. So it does, in an x-ray, it will look like it's all you. And yeah, good old days. So back then, it was quite a rare procedure. It was quite expensive. Very few people could afford it. Very few doctors were doing it anyway. And for this reason, it was mostly for the very rich. And so it wasn't as mainstream. And then it became a little bit more mainstream when it started being done when it started being publicized in countries with lower incomes. So it was more affordable to people who could not afford the very crazy prices that were there in those original days. And with this, it became a bit more accessible to people. And for some people, it was just, I've never liked how I look. I turn around and I hate how flat I am. And to be honest, I remember quite a big chunk of my life. Now, I am backside blessed, not very, but I am. even when I was very skinny, I still had a little bit of a something. You could tell, you could, when you do this, it wasn't straight. It was, but it was there. And I know that even I used to make fun of people who were all flat at the back. Partly because those same people were mostly light-skinned and they were making fun of me for being dark-skinned. So it was just me finding something that I have that they don't have. But I remember that it used to be something that I was always making fun of people for. So I do understand that there are people who've grown up, and if you can afford to change something that you kept being told is ugly about you, you'd want to do it. The same way I tried to bleach and then it backfired on me, and now I just don't have the energy to be consistent, so I'm never going to do it. But it's one of those things that once it became accessible, quite a lot of people started doing it. And then it comes with the reason. Somebody says, listen, I had a baby. I'm going to have a tummy tuck anyway. So I might as well, because most people who actually end up doing it, especially the ones who already had the figure, their reasoning is, I was going for a tummy tuck. And then the surgeon upsold it to me and told me, since you're going to be removing fat from there anyway, we might as well use that fat somewhere else. And then they end up doing it. And I can totally see and understand why this is something that would be interesting or would be something that somebody would consider doing, because I don't think anybody likes being made fun of. I don't think anybody likes to not look their best. Now, having said that, and I went all this round to say all these things, just so that I go back to the beginning, where one of the most dangerous things is having access to money when you don't have a plan. Now, of course, I have a little bit more money than I had in my 20s. And sometimes when I feel like I have some extra money, what I do is I end up booking a trip and going somewhere, and then most of the time regret it, because then we end up staying in the hotel the whole time and it's not really been great. However, I usually come back and of course I regret it a bit, because I feel like I just wasted that money. I could have done something else with it, because I'm one of those people who are very impulsive when it comes to money. I'm not very good. I'm getting there, very good at financial planning. And it's taken a lot to get me there. It's taken having a man who actually tells me, really, was that necessary? Was that important? Was it something you could have died if you didn't have it this month? So it took quite a lot of that to get me to a place where now I actually think about my retirement and I'm thinking about things for the future. But the reality is, for most people who grew up, because I didn't grow up with a lot of money, I think it's one of those cases where parents were working and they needed every single salary that came in. And so when you finally have that little bit of extra, you feel like I have to use it. And whatever is surrounding you, what you're feeding on, is what you're going to end up using that money on. I would really love to say that this is all, we can blame women for this, because what most people think is the women who are doing this are doing it, and maybe that's what you understood when I said for the black male gaze. They're doing this so that they can get a rich man and stuff like that. Well, but then there are also married women who are doing it. I think for most women, we like to be told by a man, if you're heterosexual, by a woman if you're gay, but we like being told that you're beautiful. We like being told that you look nice. We like compliments. And there's nothing that hurts as much as you have your own insecurity, because believe me, men, every time you have a girlfriend and she's a little bit chubbier than she was before having your 4 babies, and keeping your name continuing and your heritage and your lineage before her expanding your lineage. Every time a woman who looks and is the size that she used to be passes and you turn your head, she notices and she knows that she is not that person anymore. Of course, even you are not the same person that you were when she first met you. You've also probably put on a few kilos. But for most women, they really do want this validation. And I think sometimes it just makes them feel, when they're not getting this validation. So all these surgeries that people are doing and everything, while it's easy to judge them and say, oh, they're superficial, they're not thinking about it, because think about it. I don't think there's anybody I have ever met. Well, face to face, I've only met 4 people who've had BBLs. Everybody else is online. These 4, and even the stories I've had online, none of them went into this thing blind. They all knew it's a dangerous surgery, including the ones who've done it at the best hospitals. They were all told it's a very dangerous surgery. It's something that has a very high death rate. The potentials for dying in this thing are quite high. So people know how risky this surgery is. Do you think people are going into this just so that they can find a man to buy them a car? People are going into this because they are missing something inside. And whether it is for themselves to feel good when they see themselves in the mirror or anything, but they are going into it. Granted, there are so many other ways of feeling better about yourself. But you know what? Shaming people and telling them that, oh, you see the stupidity of it, oh, just appreciate yourself the way God made you, and all these things are not the things that are going to change people. What's going to change people is start by being nice to the women around you. When was the last time you told your sister or your daughter that you're beautiful? And not in an ironic way. My brother has never told me I'm beautiful. My brother has never told me anything. I'm going to call him and get him to tell me nice things. I'm going to force him to tell me 5 things he likes about me. But I think this is one of those things that we need to start normalizing men telling their relatives. So if there's a man watching this and you have a cousin, a niece, a sister, just normalize telling them positive things about themselves so that they get used to hearing that. And they might still, I said I'm very confident in my body right now. I'm a 40-something-year-old woman and I love how I look. I love how I feel. I love, especially now with the weight loss. See, my arms are starting to behave. I am loving my body. But even I still, sometimes when I'm all quiet and I'm standing there and admiring my body, I'm always like, I know I'm working out and I know eventually this flabby thing is going to reduce, but I just really want it to go faster. And you're thinking, but then the problem is I'm thinking, oh man, the recovery time, who has time for that? And then I'm like, it's okay, I'll wait. But then there are people who have that option and they will jump on it because it makes them feel good and it makes them feel like themselves. And no matter how much confidence somebody has, sometimes it just helps being nice and kind to people. Now, I hope that in all this, you've gotten something. I'm not saying I hate BBLs. I'm not saying I hate boob jobs. I'm not saying I hate cosmetic surgery. I'm just saying at this moment in my life, they're not for me. However, I also think that quite a lot of women are going into it only because they are not feeling like they are as awesome as you people should be making them feel. All right, so I'll see you all in the next video, which is, now I'm posting weekly. I really should not say this because now I'm able to do it weekly, but I don't know what my circumstances. But anyway, in 2026, I promise to be posting weekly. So if you subscribe, that would be really nice so that I can actually afford to do a Because no, I'm kidding. I will. If you subscribe, that would be really great to get my numbers up so that I feel a bit more motivated, and then we can continue having these conversations with this older auntie who is reflecting on her life. But boy, am I glad that I was not rich in my 20s. I would have done so much damage and I would have regretted it so much, because now if I have a boob job, it will be to maybe just make them stand a little bit. But oof, back then, I would have just gone and got something that would have given me such a backache. Yeah, poverty has its advantages. All right, see ya.